You know, there's something magical about the art of animation. Be it movies, movies such as Boss Baby. Any audience can watch it without any complaint. It is able to attract every single person who even has a glance onto these movies. In the same way, take games like Fortnite. You've heard of it, I've heard of it, you've played it, I've played it. It's something so enticing, so magical, so captivating about the way they present the game, the way the design looks, the way that it feels like in real life. It just makes sense. It just makes things much more fun to deal with, be it movies, be it games, be it whatever. Things such as animation, VFX, game development, texturization, all of this brings together what we see as normal entertainment, adds in a little bit of flavor and oomph, and it makes things fun for us to do. But here's the thing, I've got something special for you. Movies such as Boss Baby, games such as Destiny, Fortnite, all of this had those characteristics that I spoke of. And I have a person who has contributed a lot when it comes to making these projects, these dream projects, a reality. And this person is with us all the way from India. So I played in all my special cards to bring this person for you. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Nikhil Chandra, all the way from India, joining in on this discussion today. And he's one of the most amazing and talented consultants that we have here at MoGo. Hi and welcome.
Hi Sami, thank you so much for having me here.
No worries at all. Now when it comes to MoGo Academy, we have a lot of things that we deal with. Specifically, of course, we specialize in things such as game development, VFX, animation, texturization, just to name a few. And since you are a person who is a wonderful consultant that we have here today, we just wanted to sort of gain your understanding and an expert opinion on how this sort of industry of game development animation is like for you as an expert, as a prominent person in the industry, and also for us Sri Lankans, how is it going so far. But before we jump into that, now you are a person who has of course worked in a lot of things that we as Sri Lankans adore, love and would love to be a part of. But before you go to that also, can we know who Nikhil is? What's your background like? What do you like? Who is Nikhil?
So I've grown up in India, in the smaller towns, not really in any of the big towns until later when I started working. So yeah, I just came from there. Actually, when I was starting out, animation was not really a big thing in India and not many people knew about it. So getting into animation college, convincing parents and all of those things was a struggle. I wanted to do it since my 10th standard in school. But then I was going the engineering route because that's everybody does that. And then so then I also did not do well in my exams, but that also helped. So then I was I want to do animation, and my parents were like, what is that? So took some convincing, got into a college, did well in college, and then started working. But then things about college and actual industry is that the things that you learn and the on-ground experiences are so different that you just feel like learning things all over again. Colleges do give you a really good ground establishment, but then in the job you learn so much more. So that all happened, then worked hard, and worked on some really cool projects. Luckily I got selected for some really nice people to work with, some really cool projects to work with. So that was probably my journey so far, and now I'm here doing well. MoGo Studio is really amazing. The people are here are great. Sri Lanka in general has been treating me really nicely, so I'm really happy about that.
That's quite lovely to hear. Now,
Thank you.
For those of us who, let's say, are inspired or are wanting to join into this wonderful industry that is animation and everything that you do, but for those of us who do not know, what exactly is your scope of work? What is your line of work?
Okay, so me as an animator and an animation supervisor director is basically if you just to make it really dumbed down, is basically whatever that moves on screen is animation. So if a character is nodding, scratching his eyes or whatever, scratching his nose or hair, that's all animation. Not just that, even if a rock is flying, somebody threw a rock or whatever it is, everything that's moving is mostly animation. So I do that, like I make things move, but that's like super simplification of it. What we really like to say is that we breathe life into characters. So that's the job title I really like to say. That once we get the sort of digital puppets that we work on, they're like lifeless. They look beautiful, but they're lifeless. There's nothing. But once we start moving, we start giving them personalities, and that's how they come alive, and you guys love them. So yeah, it's basically that's what I do. That's generally my scope of work. As an animation supervisor and director, the responsibilities grow a little more. You start seeing things a little more broadly in terms of the whole movie or the short or scene or whatever. So it's not just you also have to manage a team, stuff like that. So yeah, that all gets complicated, but then fun also.
I like the fact that you mentioned, it's all about bringing a character into life.
Yeah.
It's about something, bringing an inanimate object, feeding it a bit of life, and then, bringing it to the big screens. Now, you mentioned that, your parents were a bit confused, a bit worried about the fact that you're switching from engineering to a side that they've not heard of, not a lot of people have heard of in that sense. But what really helped you push through those barriers? What really inspired you to get into this game?
Okay, so I was basically always into cartoons, as all children are, but then I guess I was a little too much into it. So once when I was young, I saw the behind the scenes, the making of a movie called Shrek and Prince of Egypt, and I was just like because its cartoons are so based on imagination that you don't really understand how they're made, especially when you're young. So when I actually saw people working on this, I was like, oh, so people make this for a living, yeah, and you can make decent money out of it. So I was just like, yes, now this is some career that I can totally go for. So that was my initial push, like just enamored by the stories and the characters, and I'm not much of an actor, and this face is not really for screen. So so I thought all my acting sense and all of those things I can bring to the characters, and I can move them around and make them alive. So yeah, so that was the first draw, really getting hooked to the stories and characters. And then for my parents, it was mostly like giving them a lot of data that this is a viable industry. The West has been doing animation for like so long. So it's like a proper industry there, jobs, like there's HR in companies, and so it's like a proper corporate setup. So it's not just some like vague thing that people do in a corner, it's like proper establishments. So those data really helped for my parents to understand, okay, that this could be sustainable. Some smaller studios had started coming up in India by then. So, giving them data about that, the employment records and stuff like that really helped. Yeah, so basically just giving them data that life can be sustained on this career.
I mean, that is end of the day the thing with South Asian parents.
Exactly.
They need the statistics to give us the goal.
Yes, exactly. So one funny thing about my college also, so they had a diploma course and then they had a degree course. So my parents, so I was like I can do a diploma and get out of the university sooner and start working sooner, but they were not really convinced about that, because it's like you need a degree to survive. So then I did like the longer course. I could have done the diploma course and learned the equal things that I learned in the 3A course, but just the fact that it was a degree kind of made them a little at ease. So yeah, South Asian parents, they need some like degrees and papers, stuff like that to convince them. But
yeah. So here's the thing. So if you are a person who wants to go through the path, follow Nikhil's footsteps, and you're worried about it, we're here to tell you exactly how you can convince your parents also. Now, we are from MoGo Academy. So if you tell your parents about MoGo Academy and what we offer, this issue won't be your problem.
Exactly.
You can definitely go through with it. Now, since you mentioned about the industry in terms of the Western arena, it's quite established. They've been doing it for years and years. But when it comes to our region, towards the Asian region, it is there, but it's not very known of. It's not very famous for, and not a lot of people want to join it from the get-go, unless you really have a passion for it. So in your terms, from an expert's opinion, who has been in this industry, gone through from the very start of it, how do you pursue this industry in the South Asian region? Do you think it's a feasible thing to do in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, for sure. Because just talking about MoGo Studio, and if you talk about the West, it's basically you see how they started. They started with like smaller independent productions, making movies, making games, whatever that they can, short films, and then they have spent all these years to come to where they are, where their movies are released globally, everybody is watching them, Disney, Pixar, stuff like that. So now the South Asia is really catching up on that. There are so many studios that are working on their own content right now, IPs, including Mogo Studio. They're working on their own film, which is hopefully will be released theatrically worldwide. So this is the way to go. Like it's not popular because people have not seen stuff much, but it's being made. And the more we get it out there, the better it will be, the more popularity it will gain, and parents and everybody else will be a little more convinced about the existence of this industry, which is already pretty flourishing. Like in Sri Lanka itself, I know Mogo Studio, I know Studio 101, I know so many other, like there's a game studio in Kandy, a lot of independent and bigger studios that are already working in Sri Lanka. So it's booming, it's there. We need people to come in, help us make amazing stuff that we can put out globally, and we'll actually there in terms of quality. We just need a little more recognition, which we are totally striving towards, like global stuff.
And the same path of thought, it's about getting your education, figuring out a way to join into the industry now. From our region, this is something fairly new to our industry. How can you join this industry? Nikhil?
So I think the easiest way is to get some formal training. That would be because studios right now are looking for people. Like back in my day when I was starting out, they were like still kind of experimenting with the pipelines and how to set up each department and stuff like that. But now everything is so streamlined, everything is so efficient and functioning that people like studios need people who have some groundwork before they kind of join the industry. So I think the easiest way is to get some formal training, join some academy, some university, some college, whatever that you can. That not only gives you training but also gets you a little more well versed with the world and the departments and the other things that are required for you to start doing this professionally. They also give you a lot of contacts. For example, you meet your professors who have worked in the industry. They have insights on job experience, and they help you get even some contacts to get into studios and stuff like that. So I would say formal training is the key to start getting in. Work on your basics the most you can, because all the flashy stuff is fun, but then your basics, which is getting some art education in there, getting your fundamentals about each department, so that even if you specialize in one, when you do enter the industry, you know how to communicate with other departments because you have an understanding of them. So things like that. Just YouTube is also a great resource. Just so much material out there to learn about how the industry works and stuff. Just learn as much as you can, practice as much as you can, and the industry is looking for people.
So as similar to any other job that you have in the industry, you need that solid foundation and understanding before you really work your way up. Now, since I was going off before the break, you are a person who's worked on a lot of iconic projects and some of my personal favorites. And guess what? He's quite humble about it as well. So when we were just having a pre-discussion, we were asking what other projects you worked with. He's like, I worked in Boss Baby, little bit of thing, this is game, you might have heard Fortnite. You're like Fortnite, everybody knows Fortnite. But then he's a person with an extremely impressive, I think, line of work. So we of course need to know, at least I am dying to know, what are the memorable moments of these iconic projects that you've worked with, and what sort of experience have you gone through with them?
So I think mostly all projects are kind of similar to each other. I mean, obviously industries are different, like game and movies kind of function a little differently. The rules are a little different. But I think in memory wise, I feel there was actually a project called All Hail King Julian that I worked on. That was by far, I feel, the funnest project that I worked on, because King Julian as a character is so wacky, is so funny. So the jokes on paper would be fun, but then the studios were really gracious to give us like all the liberty to add jokes on this. So we would do a lot of like acting choices. We would basically shoot our own references, which is a pretty standard thing now. Everybody shoot their own references before going into animation. So we used to act like King Julian and all of those fun things. We would like being animators. And unlike other jobs, which I think is the most fun about this job, is that you are allowed to be silly on the floor. Like you're working on your desk. If you're not silly, then people are looking at you suspiciously, like, is he really working or not? So yeah, you're being silly, you're making faces, you're making noises, you're hitting yourself with something on the head, stuff like that. So I think King Julian by far was the most fun experience because the show was so much fun, and then we got to improvise on it a lot more.
On that thought, I must ask, did you do the King Julian voice? Did you do
not really. I'll probably do a really bad one, like, oh, Maurice. No, that was bad. Sorry. That was bad.
That wasn't bad. It was on par. It was on par.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, like you said, like it's all about having fun. Yeah.
Yes.
So in comparison to other jobs, I feel like
Yes.
even your demeanor, the way that you speak about your projects, just radiates a lot of fun that you have put through and how much passionate you're about it. So in that sense, now every job, no matter how fun it is, how good it is, there has to be a bunch of challenge in it.
Yes.
And I feel like you are a person who have perceived through, gone through, broken all those barriers and come through. For the inspiring, aspiring animators who are watching us right now, what sort of advice do you have? And if you can reference a challenge that you might have faced.
It's basically like challenges, like all other jobs, is basically consistency. I feel that is the most important thing that you need to do while you're learning and while you're working. It's like how consistently can you show up for a task, do it diligently, get it through, do it the best you can. Always keep yourself updated. That's another thing that's really now more so, but even in the earlier years, like things are getting updated so fast. So many new techniques are coming in, AI, mocap, whatever, all of those things are really picking up. So keeping yourself updated with the new trends, that's also something that's really important. So yeah, I think challenges, I wouldn't say like they were like hardships that I had to go through, but then definitely like keeping myself updated, being like watching a lot of animation so that I'm inspired to do my job, watching interviews, maybe better ones than this, but yeah, like people who have really worked hard, they talk so passionately about the thing, so you kind of get inspired by listening to them. So just throw yourself in the world, submerge yourself in the world, and if you're really diligent and your work ethic is good, and obviously like all the job things, you need to be polite, you need to be nice about things, things like that. If you're doing all of those things, then yeah, it's just like do the work and have fun. That's basically it.
I think the biggest hurdle that almost all animators stemming from South Asian households would be to convince the parents.
Yeah.
So that, of course, we touched upon that subject. And then since you mentioned current trends such as AI, now it's in the normal sense that a lot of people discuss, in the sense that AI is replacing almost all jobs.
Yeah.
I am in a field where it's easily replaceable by AI, even media, presenting, whatever that could be. Now, when it comes to animators, is it the same, or is AI a tool that you all use in a smart way to enhance your talent and much rather not letting it die down your talent?
Exactly, the second part. Basically, like any tools, AI is also another tool. Like if you think about history, like just because like people used to do animation on paper and pencil, the 2D animation, then computers came along and people were like, oh my god, these are gonna take our jobs. Computers, like 2D animator was really scared when the computers came, and they were just like, what are we gonna do? But they just had to transition, and then animators were still alive. AI, same thing. Like it's just a tool. Get yourself acquainted to it. I wouldn't say just ignore it completely.
Yeah.
Do get yourself acquainted to it because it is really helpful, and studios are using a lot of its help. At this point, AI really helps you with like the base thing, and then you work on it to make it polish it more to make it actually presentable. So that work is still there. But then what you feed into the AI to get the results is also a skill. Like if you know what you want, you will get better results out of AI. So the role of an animator or any department, to be honest, is not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just that you adapt a little, and then all your skills that you have worked with so long are totally gonna be used to enhance and use this tool, and use it better. So yeah, jobs are not going anywhere.
It's how you use it.
Yeah.
It's more like a tool, like you kept
Exactly.
mentioning. Just how you use it and how you adapt to it. Final question.
Yes.
For all of the aspiring animators, for all of the individuals, the young or the old, the talent pool that is waiting to get their footing into this industry, be it through VFX, be it through modeling and texturing, game development, as an expert on that field, what would you say is an advice that you wish someone would have given you when you started out?
I would say research more. Like, just understand that one advice, actual advice that I got really early on was that, say, even though you are specializing in one aspect of the industry, never ignore the other aspects. Like, if you know the whole pipeline, how things work, move things from one department to the other. Once you're working, and if you aspire to be a director or a supervisor or stuff like that, those things really help. Like, you have an understanding, you know how to communicate with other departments and stuff like that. For people coming in, I would say the only advice I can give you is just focus and learn about it as much as you can. Be inspired every day, enjoy what you're doing, because there are some really, as all jobs, it's not all fun and game. There are obviously parts of it where you need to focus and really work really hard. So the more you enjoy the fun parts, the more you will not hate the sloggers. So I would say just be inspired, be all in, dive right in, and just have fun. That would be my advice. And I learned it a little later in life, because since I had left engineering and was doing this, I was really like, oh shit, I need to do good, and I can't mess this up and stuff. Yeah, a lot of pressure. But then as I started working, that pressure kind of started easing off, and I enjoyed it more. I did better. Yeah, so just have fun and enjoy the hard work as well.
There you go, folks. You got the most required advice from an expert in the industry that you aspire to be. Now, Nikhil mentioned early on that if you are to come in, if you are to have a solid footing, it is important that you get your foundations right. You need to have your basic education. While you have your passion for the art, you need that education to go further up the ladder. So to do that, and to convince your parents to say that, look here, this is a possible, lucrative, critically thought out field, this is going to help you. The information that I'm going to give you right now is going to help you. So we are from MoGo, MoGo Academy, an academy that specializes in exactly this. To be exact, we specialize in VFX, game development, animation, modeling and texturing. You want to join us to ensure that your path into this world is streamlined, steady and solid. And to do that, all you have to do is give us a call on the number that you're seeing right now, and of course more descriptions and all the other details are following as well. Just give us a call and see where you fit in with us and how you could be the next Nikhil. And also, if you want to apply and get more information about what we do and how you can join us, all you have to do is to go ahead and log into www.mogoacademy.lk. All relevant information and the application process is listed out right there for you to join us. And then you could come here and meet Nikhil and then gain his experience and of course his knowledge and advice onto how you could be the next him. And of course, through his blessings, come up with wonderful projects as well. So thank you so much, Nikhil, for sparing us a bit of your time to have a chat with us and of course to inspire all these young minds.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it for today's discussion. We'll see you hopefully here at MoGo Academy, inspired by our discussion. But wishing you all the very best of luck if you're to join this industry, and we'll hopefully see you with wonderful projects that you do. See you next time.